countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it is now time for more of the Last Comic Shop podcast.
Hey, are you ready for that podcast?
What are you, Foghorn Leghorn here? That's right, we are opening up the shop to newbies. And this week we've got lots and lots of sound effects.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to keep the shop open for the oldies that remember where those sound effects came from. Because I don't know if the kids these days get these classic cartoons we're going to be talking about.
My question is, are we going to make the sound effects ourselves? Or is Andrew going to put them all in post?
It's really hard not to put them in post. I've been doing it for so long. But I welcome my co-hosts, Jay Scott and Chad Smith, to help out the host with the most, Andy Larson, with making up their own sound effects this week. So that is going to be a challenge to you two. I'm not.
He's saying, J.A., that we have the power.
It's so weird when it comes to the Last Comic Shop and the sound effects. It's still the biggest debate out there. There's folks that I will tell them that we have a podcast and we put sound effects on, and they go, ew. And then other people are like, ooh. But I do think
which ew is you?
It makes our podcast different, sets it out from the rest of the pack. So we will continue to do it well into season 7, 8, 9, 10, 50, till I die. I'll be reading comics with these two guys. And we've got a comic book this week, which, I don't know, Chad, would we consider it a year of Chad pick?
I've been excited to talk about this book for a long time. So I'm interested to see where you guys come down on this one.
Okay. It is Uncanny Valley by Tony Fleecs and Dave Wachter. And yeah, if you're interested in some of the creators, we have interviews by both Tony Fleecs and Dave Wachter. Now, the Tony Fleecs interview was cut well before he ever did this book, but the Dave Wachter interview was cut at the same time he was putting out some of these issues. So make sure that you're checking that out in our back catalog over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
Well, one of the things that I loved about this book, and because we are gentlemen of a certain age, and that means that we grew up on all these old cartoons, whether there was, the Disney cartoons or the old Warner Brothers shorts, and they were just a constant presence in our lives. And I don't know when exactly that sort of dissipated and they got replaced with more modern fare. But like when we grew up, we were watching cartoons from the 40s, 60s, and 70s, and they were all new to us, so it wasn't a thing.
You mentioned that. I found this list online, 9 Rules for Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner cartoons by Chuck Jones, and I figure that that's something that we should go through.
Oh,
there you go. Chuck Jones, famed animator, responsible for all your favorite Warner Brothers cartoons.
Yeah, he was the best of all of them. Better than Friz Freeling. He was Duck Amuck is one of my all-time favorite cartoons. Just existential.
Duck season. Wabbit season. Duck season. Wabbit. Oh, that's a different.
Yeah, Duck Amuck is when Daffy's just trying to put on a cartoon and Bugs is erasing doors and like drawing him as different characters and like, oh, we're gonna do this. It's existential nonsense. Like it's incredible. But I am curious because my daughter, she's a member of the new generation and she loves Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. So
I will say that your daughter is in good company. I loved the Roadrunner cartoons. They were my favorite of all the Warner Brothers stuff. The Roadrunner was the best, and I remember growing up and wondering where I could find me some of that cool Acme stuff that he was always.
What are the 9 rules? Now, these are rules that like Chuck Jones had to follow in all of his cartoons.
Well, when I start reading them, they'll make sense to you. Number 1, the Roadrunner cannot harm the coyote except by going beep beep. Beep beep.
Like, it is true. If I recall from those cartoons, it is pretty much Wile E. Coyote that sets up not only how he's going to get the Roadrunner, but then how he gets hurt in the end. So,
but sometimes that Roadrunner will distract him while he's midair and makes him look down.
Yeah, well, that was the beep beep.
There you go.
Number 2, no outside force can harm the coyote, only his own ineptitude or the failure of Acme products. See, there's that Acme.
The pinnacle, the Acme, top of the top.
My favorite ones are still where he draws painting on the side of a cliff, and the Roadrunner runs through, but then he tries to run through and just smacks himself into.
Listen, the Roadrunner believed. It's all about faith.
That's his own ineptitude. The fact that he was a good enough artist that, like,
I don't know, maybe there's another rule down the line that'll explain that one.
Yeah. Number 3, the Coyote could stop any time if he were not a fanatic.
That's true. That's true. He could eat anything else. I mean, heck, he orders away from Acme all the time. He can't afford to order like an Acme sandwich. Well, I'm sure they've got a hoagie or a can of beans or something, but no.
Just his budget for sad little signs alone would be enough to feed him.
Number 4, no dialogue ever, except beep beep.
That is true. The only time I ever heard Wile E. Coyote talk is actually not in a Roadrunner cartoon. It's with the Sheepdog. Those are the lesser known Chuck Jones stories where basically a Wile E. Coyote is trying to steal a bunch of sheep and they punch in and out because they're co-workers. Like the Sheepdog and him, they're co-workers. And so he's like, hey, Sam. Hey, Charlie. I forget. I know one of them's named Sam. You do hear Wile E. Coyote talking those cartoons.
You didn't realize it at the time, but it was so weird and so unnatural. It's like, it's not right.
Not quite on the level of Garbo Speaks, but... Number 5, the Roadrunner must stay on the road. Otherwise, logically, he could not be called the Roadrunner.
This one doesn't make any sense, though, because there is an episode where he goes into a mine shaft. That's one of my daughter's favorite episodes. He said, where are the roads in a mine shaft? I guess it's a mine road.
That's the tracks. Yeah. They're indicators where you need to be.
He's a track runner at that point.
Yeah.
I call foul, Chuck Jones.
Number 6, all action must be confined to the natural environment of the two characters, that is being the Southwest American desert. That's why I love every cartoon is so interchangeable. I mean, the action is very similar, but the setting and the environment, the background images, I wonder if they just reused a lot of plates.
No, well, they must have. It's like the Hulk stomping grounds. Like everything happens cool out in the Southwest.
Now, number 7, this one goes back to my favorite corporation. All materials, tools, weapons, or mechanical conveniences must be obtained from the Acme Corporation.
I always was curious whether or not that was a real company.
Well, they do make chemicals, don't they? Or is that Ace? Is that Ace
Chemicals?
That's Ace. Yeah, that's the Joker chemicals.
Yeah, very close though. You remove an M, you get Ace.
They're that hardware store that sells you those chemicals.
Number 8, whenever possible, make gravity the Coyote's greatest enemy.
Yes.
Isn't gravity the enemy of us all?
Right. It always drags you down. It's really hard to escape most of the time. But it's true. My favorite ones are always where like he's falling at the same time as other objects are. Throws a bucket of water and the water's falling at a different pace than he is, and an anvil's there. And he's like, I got to move this anvil. And I got like the physics I don't understand most of all. But it's really neat from an animations perspective.
Gravity, one of the most fundamental forces in the universe, but if you take it out, then you get gravy.
Yeah.
And finally, number 9, the Coyote must always be more humiliated than harmed by his failures.
It's true. He is immortal. He would die like 1,000 times over. In fact, there's actually an interesting issue of Animal Man that talks about
I remember this.
A Wile E. Coyote-esque character that keeps on being tortured by his creator, who ends up being Grant Morrison at the point. It's a very dark issue.
It's suicidal and yeah. Hubris and gravity are the biggest bad guys. But no, I'm excited to brush up on these things because isn't the Wile E. Coyote movie with Will Forte supposed to come out sometime soon?
Wasn't that one of those ones that was shelved and then like they refused to release it or something like that? Like the Batgirl movie? Like
it was in a similar boat, and I remember Will Forte like campaigning to get this movie out there, and I thought I read a headline, but I could be lying to you, that said that it was eventually going to be released finally. Which I'm a big Will Forte fan. Still waiting for that next MacGruber.
You're the only one.
I'm a big Roadrunner fan, and when I say Roadrunner, I mean the Plymouth.
You're bringing it with the dad jokes today, Jay.
I know, right? So yeah, those are the 9 rules that Chuck Jones had to follow in every single Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. I still think he broke a bunch of them. I don't understand the one about the road. They weren't always on roads. They were elsewheres.
It's a metaphor. But he made the rules. He can break the rules, right? But it's good you got rules.
That's true. Just as an aside, did you know that most of them were written by one guy? It wasn't even Chuck Jones. He directed them. They were all written by Michael Maltese, who also wrote a lot of Bugs Bunny stuff and other things like that. But yeah, I wonder what those scripts look like.
Because it's the same plot over and over and over again. Like, how'd you like to be that guy? Like, all right, Mike, we need another one. Here, let me backspace out these 3 words in this one. I got it! I wonder how many collective hours we spent watching those cartoons as kids.
Oh, I didn't have a lot of cartoons, and the ones that I did either were on Saturday mornings or on VHS. But I did have tons of Looney Tunes VHS tapes. Not so many Disney ones, and I never particularly liked Disney cartoons growing up, like the shorts. I don't know. There was something white bread about them compared to the Looney Tunes. They were like, that was the subversive stuff. That was the intelligent stuff.
So I felt like Disney in the 60s when it was like the goofy, the sports.
Yeah.
Those were always good. Those had a little bit of an edge to them.
Right. Goofy becoming a chain smoker. Goofy working with his obesity issues. When he was becoming a dad, and you're just like, oh, shoot. Dang, that stuff still is relevant today.
Now I've got the Looney Tunes song stuck in my head. Now
it changed to Mario.
In any case, we'll be right back with more of the Last Comic Shop right after this with our review of Uncanny Valley, which has its own rules when it comes to cartoons and how they exist with comic books. Are there 9? Are there 10? Are there 15? We'll see. Stay tuned for that.
BCWSupplies.com has everything a comic collector could need. Boards, bags, long boxes, and so much else for our ever so increasing collections. And you can save 10% on your total order by using promo code LCSPOD at checkout. Not only does this take 10% off BCW Supplies' already low prices, but it supports my favorite podcast, The Last Comic Shop. So get all your collecting gear at bcwsupplies.com and save 10% on your order with promo code LCSPOD at checkout. That's LCSPOD at checkout. Happy hunting!
Bonjour, this is Geeky Old Hog, and I've got a nice little YouTube channel where I review the latest comics and occasionally bang on about the old ones. Why should you bother? I hear you cry. Well, I'm a published writer of comics. I had 6 shops back in the day, and I've been a collector for 50 years. Yeah, that's why there's an O and an L in the middle of Geeky and Hog. I'm clever like that. So, if you fancy it, reviewing the new ones weekly, and then looking at artists and stuff, on the side, as the actress said to the bishop, everyone is welcome. Geeky Old Hog, all one word, over on YouTube.
And we are back with this week's review from Boom Studios. Need to put in a boom there, Andrew.
I don't know. Your sound effect was pretty good.
Hold on. Not Boom Studios. It's
See, that was even better. Who needs real sound effects when you got Jay?
I've got the Foley. You've got the cash. Let's make lots of money. Anyways, we are reading Uncanny Valley from the aforementioned Boom Studios. Andrew, who did this? It's not a mini, it's not a maxi, it's just a 10-issue limited series?
Well, it was written by Tony Fleecs, who's done a lot of other great books, some of which we've talked about on this show before. Stray Dogs, Local Man, which we did an episode earlier in 2025, and of course, drawn by Dave Wachter, who has done some other cool books. Guns of Shadow Valley is one that I could highly recommend that you check out if you have an opportunity. The letters were done by Pat Brousseau, which I'm sure he's lettered some things. I can't recall what they are off the top of my head, but yes.
All right. And what happens in the Uncanny Valley there, Chad?
All right, so a 12-year-old Oliver Pete jumps off a bridge because his new friends were doing it. But instead of breaking a leg like his buddies, he leaves a cartoon outline upon impact because he is half cartoon. Then his grandpa, Pecos Pete, a Yosemite Sam pastiche, comes to take him to the cartoon realm because things there are in trouble. The first, a cartoon heck bent on taking control, wants Oliver's blood to help him invert the cartoon reality dynamic. But meanwhile, Oliver's mom has to overcome her own personal issues in order to help rescue her son. Hilarity, cartoon violence, and family melodrama all ensue from there in this 10-issue series from Boom. And I can't Foley as well.
That's all right. You're good at other things, Chad. You're good at picking comic books for us to read on the show. I mean, this one was an interesting one. I will say this, whether you come away from Uncanny Valley kind of liking it or not so much, I think it's a really interesting concept. I applaud Tony Fleecs and Dave Wachter for doing this, because ever since ye olden days, when you used to see like Jessica Rabbit, and you were like, wow, what would happen if the detective really, I don't know, decided to do something with a good-looking Toon that would create some...
She's just drawn that way.
It's true. But that's what happens in this book. It's like, what happens if, a cartoon and a person fell in love, had children, created half-breed, half cartoon, half human beings.
Which, spoilers alert, he should be 3/4 cartoon.
Yeah, he's
not
like
half.
Yeah,
the mom's genes are just like super. Yeah,
the daughter is the true half-breed, not him.
You don't know about King Randor.
That's true. That's true. Hey, you know what? Battleman, who ends up being this guy's dad. I mean, technically, if he's a He-Man pastiche, He-Man had a human mother, and an Eternian father. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, you're right. Although I was just kind of like, I liked the pastiches. I really did. I liked we couldn't use these characters, kind of made our own versions. That was kind of a neat thing. I am going to get the one gripe I had with this book out of the way. As much as this was cool as a comic book, as I was reading it, it was really hard for me not to want this to have been some sort of live action thing, right? Because as well as Dave Wachter draws both the characters, like the real life people like Oliver and his mom, and then the cartoon characters, which are obviously different, they're still drawings, right? And so there's still a flatness to them, like a two-dimensionalness to them, which I feel like if you did this in like a movie with the cartoon character, kind of again like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I do think that it would be more effective. I'm sure they don't have the budget and this is a comic book or whatever, but I kept on going this kind of would be neat to see up on the big screen, or on a TV show.
Yeah, I would push back on that one simply because I think this is one of those comic books that in my mind, it worked really well as a comic book. And you get certain moments like when Oliver is figuring out that he's a cartoon, he's making reference to things like he got in trouble in school for starting a fire. Well, it's because his friend gave him a hot pepper and he exploded. Or whenever he goes and he starts to run and his legs just become circles. And those speed lines. I don't know how much that would translate to me in live action. And so I thought Dave Wachter does a killer job. He has this photorealistic style, and then he's mixing in these cartoony elements. And you can see, like, there's a clear delineation on what's from the cartoon universe and what's from the real universe. And then sometimes when there are things like Oliver runs through a wall and leaves his outline behind, like, you can see the traces of reality. And I don't know, just for me, it worked better than if it were actual reality.
I really liked how, until his grandfather shows up, I guess you kind of see it with the crows when they come in. You're like, oh, why are the crows talking? And they don't look like regular crows, because when you see the crows starting to collect, and when Oliver takes the trash out, they just look like crows. You only see them from the back. So I loved how they hid the reveal up until Pico's Pete showing up in full, flat, zero shading color cartoon gel, essentially. It looks like a gel from a cartoon, where the people are very much not that. I liked it. The problem, I think, with live action in cartoons is, even in this day and age where it'd probably be so easy with CGI, I just think the bar is so high with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that's where everyone, at least my generation, instantly goes when you think of live action with cartoon mixed. It's that or Cool World.
Oh, that's a deep pull.
It's got Brad Pitt, I think. Yeah. I'm not going to say that I'm poo-pooing it. I just, especially in the back half, right? When I got to the back half, I felt like the first 5 issues of this series were really, really strong. I kind of liked where they were going. I liked like some of the conversations and the ideas that Tony was playing with. I liked the conversation in the diner. You know, why is that, you know, the waitress being so normal with you, Pecos Pete? Like, and he's like, oh, they can't see it anymore. You ever see somebody and they just kind of look off or like weird or funny or something? Yeah, that's a Toon. That's somebody that, you know, you're not really noticing as a cartoon, but they really are. After that, like after the first 5 issues and Oliver takes a jaunt into this other universe, I guess back into the cartoon universe. Not only did I feel like some of the animation seemed, again, flat to me. Oliver, when he was a cartoon, didn't look as crisp or as good as when he was a live person. The Huckleberry Hound stand-in character, what was his name? Dewey. That's right. Plus, I didn't understand, like, the first, because that was an awesome idea, that the first was actually, like, Mickey Mouse turned evil and, like, turned into some sort of Don Bluth villain. Like, if you remember, like, from American Tail, those cartoons from the late 80s where they were, like, a little bit darker than Disney fare, that's what that guy looked like. But then he was originally...
There's more to it. He's not just a Don Bluth villain. He becomes Walt Disney.
He does look like Walt Disney, for sure.
It's all about power and control, and Disney, he was meticulous, and so he's no longer the mouse. He morphs into this, you know, power-hungry, control-hungry monster, which I really like that note. It took me a minute to pick up on that, but once I did, I was like, oh, man.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I didn't catch that.
Yeah, neither did I. But one thing I really did like, that I loved how they played with this whole idea that cartoons can't die, but they can be erased.
Oh, yeah, that's the one thing. When he goes and gets the whiteout.
And, like, he whites out the guy's hand, and then he finds a broken piece of somebody's pencil so that he can redraw his hand back in.
Yeah, that was super creepy. That's like one of those last panels. He's penciling in, and his fingers look all weird and jaggedy, and
See, that's what I'm talking about. Those first 5 issues were incredibly compelling. I thought just the back half, though, I got to it. I didn't kind of understand what the first was trying to do with the blood. Like, they kind of explained it a little bit that he was trying to invert the 2 universes or whatever, but I was still like, why does he have the power? It was a neat premise, but like I just feel like the end was just, it was, I don't know, they were grasping at straws about where they were going to go with it, and I don't know. I thought the last 5 were the weaker part of the series.
I did think that his plan, it was sort of this magic MacGuffin sort of driving the story along, but you never really understood what the plan was other than that it was evil.
Right, just he needed the boy. Those reasons.
And the blood of the boy. But then he was like, but I could use the mom, too. I guess the whole idea is that the boy is weaker than the mom because the mom was badass. But going back to his lineage, he should be like more Toon because he's got more Toon in him than she. He's tuned up.
He's tuned out. I love that scene in the cafe or when they're at the diner and he gets the cartoon ears and then he does the and shakes them off. Like I loved all that stuff, all those little cartoony gimmicks.
Or when he's in the prison and he smacks his head against the wall and gets the stars. I was like, no, that's not what I want. He smacks his head against the wall again and the birds pop out and he grabs one of the birds and he goes, find help.
And then Pete goes to the mom because the mom shows up and she's going to help and she's going to do all that stuff. And he's like, are you sure you should be here? Do you even remember how to, do you remember how to heal? And he's going through all the different cartoon. Like, I just love the idea that there is this cartoon logic that works in this universe and everybody knows it and everybody understands it, but they're putting like words to it and like they're putting it down on paper. And like that unto itself was like a whole different philosophy that I was really excited to dive into in this book. And then you factor in like all the other metaphors, like, so you have this universe where in the cartoon universe, the cartoons and the magic, they're slowly disappearing and dying off because they are based in the real world. In the real world, people are screwing up the real world. They're destroying all the animals. They're destroying all the places. And so that is messing with all this cartoon stuff unless you're a Smurf. Because those Smurfs aren't based in reality. So they just keep smurfing along, doing whatever they want to do. So the Smurfs are fine. They don't have to worry. But all these other cartoons are, it's because people are screwing it up. And that's where Mickey comes in and he's like, no, we're going to take control. We're going to use this MacGuffin to take over things. And then you get to the big ending where, that kid who's half cartoon learns to embrace the fun and zaniness of cartoons and how it's all about connections and love and how people are have to move forward to survive as opposed to the Mickey Mouse, the first that wants to seize power and control everything and make everybody do everything exactly as they'd say. I just the whole thing was real powerful for me, and I don't know. I like those exercises where I get to think in a different way. And I personally, I thought Dave Wachter, his photorealistic stuff. I don't know if we've praised it enough. Like, it is really spot on when he is dealing with reality. And then when he goes into the cartoon mode, he's doing cartoons all over the place. And it made for such fun gags. I loved Kung Fu Buggy, where it's like a combination of 80s cartoon things where it's like, oh, you got the ninja guy and it's a kid that turns into a buggy. Oh, yeah. Complete with the little headband on the driver's seat.
I did love how he introduced all these different genre of cartoons. I mean, like the big ending scene in the last issue when all the Filmation creations come in, like the Transformers and He-Man,
Thundercats, and
the Silverhawks.
Silverhawks, yeah.
Gem is truly outrageous.
G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Voltron.
It's a love letter to folks that watched cartoons in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, for sure.
Now, do you think it would have been better? Obviously, it would have been ridiculously expensive, and I don't know who puts it out. If it was licensed, then he had all the properties, could play with all
Let me
his
just
toys.
say, because I know Dave Wachter works on the Ninja Turtle books, and, he's done Aliens, and he's had a turn at a lot of those licensed properties. But boy, am I surprised they didn't get sued here. Like, there are some things that are real close. Like, those Ewoks aren't quite Ewoks, but they sure do look a heck of a lot like Ewoks.
Yeah.
Those pony creatures aren't My Little Ponies because of the horns. Like, there's some My Little Ponies that have horns, I think. I don't know.
It's obvious. So I don't think it hurts because you can obviously tell who these characters are from the pictures. My problem is you were introduced to some neat characters originally in, again, Kung Fu Buggy, in the Mecha Man and the Fairy Girl or whatever.
Trixie.
And they're only around for like maybe 2 issues. So I feel like their death in issue 5, it didn't have as much weight. And that's, I think, and again, I don't want to be the guy that's poo-pooing this because this has a lot of great stuff in it. But I did feel like not only from a plot perspective, there were things with like the first master plan that I didn't understand, but I also kind of think this had some pacing problems. They spent a lot of time, I don't know, explaining things and then running away somewhere else and then doing something. I feel like some of these things could have been paced out a little bit better. And maybe because they were playing for the trade, they had to have that big climax in issue 5 because that's the first end of a trade. So you have to kill some characters. But I would have liked that to have happened later on. I think that would have ratcheted up the stakes a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you about the plot being a little bit thin and a little bit murky at points, where it's like, all right, why are we doing this thing again? Is this all just an excuse to have these different cartoon characters? And then I was like, I don't care. It's an excuse to just have all these different cartoon characters running around. And we spend some time in the Sprite Village, and we spend some time with the 80s action heroes, and we spend some time with like multiple coyotes running around with skeletons, cartoon skeletons. That's the best.
And the pumpkin-headed guys. And the evil dudes, the orcs and the ogres and all those guys.
All the bad guys. All the 80s bad guys.
Yeah, and there's that classic moment where they need to distract all the bad guys, so they have the delivery man show up with you got to sign here for all the fireworks.
Or whatever the guy, he unmasks him like, oh no, it's Mr. Portnoy, my landlord.
So, yeah, I do think I agree with you, Andrew, that it was a little bit thin at times, but to Chad's point and what we've just covered, I don't know if you can pack all those little references in to just 5 issues. Then you would lose some of the fun, and I think they were having as much fun telling and drawing the story as we were reading it, and it reads really fast. I mean, I picked this up and I burned through all 10 issues in less than an hour, I think. And then I wanted to go watch some Looney Tunes and found them on, which there's a Looney Tunes channel, by the way, on Tubi.
Oh,
so
Tubi's
you can go
best.
Watch your Looney Tunes anytime you want.
And the other thing I liked about it, and this has been one of my complaints, like, there are a lot of books we've read that go off into the sci-fi realm and they kind of lose their grounding. And I felt like this had that family melodrama where it was like just serious enough, even though they're playing with all these different tropes, even though they're playing with all these different cartoony ideas. You still had like the sick grandma who's, she's a little girl and she can't go out places. She's always running out of breath because she's always sickly. And like, I don't know. There were always things to tug at the heartstring, whether it was the relationship between Pecos Pete and his daughter, or the mom who clearly loves her son and like wants to do well by him, and like, and this kid like coming of age and finding himself, and it just turns out that half of himself is a cartoon. I don't know. It was simultaneously heartfelt and fun to me.
That's the one thing that didn't really work for me. I felt the bookends of sort of, what's your culture, where are you from type thing felt a bit forced to me.
Right.
Where he's at the beginning of the book, he's struggling in a new school, and at the end of the book, he's explaining, why his mom is his hero and this and that. And I was like, that is the one part that I thought was sort of,
this is my mom and she helps people.
Really heavy-handed. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was there. It was thick, but I liked it. That speaks to me.
All right. Well, we like to get to our ratings and recommendations, and we'll have that right after these commercial breaks. So stay tuned for more of The Last Comic Shop right after this.
LastComicShopPodcast.com is the destination for all things shop. Plan your week with upcoming show schedules, the latest books, recommendations, and chatter from the crew. Subscribe to the show on all major podcasting platforms from one convenient location. Show your support and browse the merch store. T-shirts, tanks, hoodies for the fam, coffee mugs, magnets, totes, and more. Check out exclusive content through the show's YouTube channel and follow the pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and others. All this and so much more at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
When you're done listening to this podcast, check out mine. My name is Dave, and I'm the host of Beer in Front. My podcast is just enjoying the beer that's in front of you. Sometimes we forget about a classic beer while we focus on the new trendy thing. What I try to do each week is to enjoy an old school classic or have a beer that has potential to be a classic. I'll also talk about events of the day. I'll add my spin to things. And each week there are people that really annoy me, and I'll call them out as the jag-off of the week. That's Beer in Front, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for ratings. That time when we hope that you paint some sort of imaginary tunnel on a wall and then coaxed your friends into running into it because you ran through it somehow, some way. I still think that's one of the greatest ways that you can foil bad guys is just through misdirection, for sure. But yeah, we've got the rating scale from J.A. Scott. J.A., what do we got this week?
We're going to go with 1 out of 4 animation cells.
Oh, yeah, they don't have those as many anymore because they do everything so much more digitally now, but those were super neat. I think you used to be able to get some in those comic books, right, Chad? Like there were some issues where you get some animation cells.
Yeah. Dude, in the 90s, yeah, Spider-Man, the animated series, and the Fantastic Four cartoon, there were about 6 issues apiece. I think the Fantastic Four and Iron Man shared 6 issues, and Spider-Man had 6 issues. And you get this little acetate thing that if you were friends with a teacher and had a projector, you could put on the wall and be like, look, there it is, bigger. It was real cool looking.
I had one where Spider-Man was getting attacked by Venom.
Peter Parker's in the Superman pose where he's opening up the shirt collar and his Spider-Man costumes underneath.
That's spicy. That's a little spicy for putting on the projector.
That's right.
Who needs a projector? I just used a flashlight and a old used roll of toilet paper, like the cardboard tube. That's all you need. Project.
All right. Well, we're going to start off with you, J.A. How many animation cells you given this?
Yeah, this was fun. It reminded me sort of a bit kind of like Ready Player One, the book. And then even when they turned the book into the movie where they didn't have the rights to some of the characters that they used in the book. So they had to use Iron Giant instead of Ultraman, because in the book it's Ultraman, and Blade Runner is in the book but doesn't show up in the movie because they were making a Blade Runner movie at the same time. But I think it works for people of our age because we grew up with all these different cartoons. I don't know if the story would hit as hard for the younger generation who maybe doesn't know these cartoons as well, because then you're more reliant on the story itself and less on nostalgia. I would say that it's something that if you see in the library, you should definitely check out and read. I don't know if it's worth going out and finding it in single issue form. I just don't know. I guess it depends. It depends on your level of comfort with Saturday morning cartoons and this and that. So I'm going to give it a 3.25. I think I really, really did love the art, the reality-based art. I thought was beautiful. The cartoon art was cartoon art, so it was meant to look like pastiches of those old Looney Tunes cartoons. For that first issue, before you get the cartoon bits, it was incredible.
I'm going to go next. I'm not going to rate this as high as J.A. I think this is around a 2.75 for me. And I'm going to give it some points just simply because I really like the concept. I really did. I liked, the overall idea. I am a child of the 70s and the 80s. So a lot of this nostalgia hit for me. I was able to be I love the fact that you pull off a supervillain's face and you're oh, it's old man Weathers and he was the old bank teller. I got the gag. I got the Kung Fu buggy. I got the fact that Oliver's dad was Battle Man and he rode a cowardly cat. That I got all that stuff. And so for that, it really hit. I really will applaud Dave Wachter for being an excellent artist and an awesome guy. And so he did a really good job artistically with everything like that. But I can't give it a 3 for some of the reasons that I mentioned in the previous segment. I do think that this is an idea that maybe would have worked better as a movie or a TV show. Plot was kind of threadbare at points. Like, it was kind of like just there enough to set up these set pieces where you would have like either an emotional beat or a kind of cool cartoony beat. But like the overall plot was like, meh. The quest didn't make a lot of sense. And Oliver being like this half-breed, quarter-breed, they wanted his blood for some, I don't know. Like, that just stuff doesn't make sense. But there were some genuinely good moments in this book, but like, I can't rate a book just based on moments. You know, a couple pages of exposition in between. I can't rate it that high. I enjoyed reading it. I don't know, to Jay's point, whether it's going to hit with anybody that's under the age of like 35, though, because like they don't watch Looney Tunes anymore. They may watch cartoons, but they don't watch the ones that they're talking about in this. So like, this is for folks like our age, which is cool.
Where were the Demon Hunters?
Yeah, where was the anime stuff? Where was the Paw Patrol analogs and like the Bluey analog? Like that's the stuff that would hit for like a younger group. Whatever. It's a 2.75. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Chad?
All right, so I am obviously going to go higher than that. But I do think your concerns with the story are not unfounded. I think, as I mentioned before, the plot is a little bit wonky, and it's just a MacGuffin to get things rolling. But there were so many parts of this that I absolutely loved. Whether it was the Dave Wachter beautiful art, his photorealistic art was so impressive, and his cartoon art was fun. I did think it slipped a little towards, you could tell, like, issue 9 and 10, there might have been, like, some sort of crunch involved or whatever, where I didn't think it was as rendered. That's like when G.I. Joe went from Sunbow to the DIC.
Oh, yeah. There was definitely a dip there.
You know, the quality drop in the second season, maybe that was a feature, not a bug, because there was a lot to think about in this book. And I did like the family drama. I did like the exploration of the cartoon rules and how they work. And if they came back to this series, which, by the way, was nominated for an Eisner in 2025 for Best New Series, but if they came back to this world, I would be all about it. And am I looking for the heartiest of meals from a book about cartoon characters? Probably not. So I think for what this was, it was really well done. It was very thoughtful. It was jam-packed with references. While the big overarching plot was very MacGuffin-dependent, I feel like once you got that out of the way, all of the other bits were absolutely brilliant. Whether it was the Disney metaphor in there, or whether it was the family stuff, or whether it was, you know, the personal relationships and the importance of connection and all this. Like, I really dug it. So I'm going to go on the lower side of what I was thinking. I'm going to go with 3.5. But I think if you are of a certain age, that certain age being somewhere in your deep 30s, 40s, early 50s, this is a book that is worth your time to pick up. If you are younger than that and never watched Wile E. Coyote cartoons, or you just know them from Space Jam, this probably wouldn't hit for you as well. But since I'm in that target market, this hit for me real hard, and I liked it a lot.
Well, something else that we hope hits really hard is our recommendations. Yes, this is the time of every single show when we recommend other books in addition to Uncanny Valley, which you can pick up in either single issues and or trade at your local comic book shop. It's the knee deep in the winters, and you might need stuff to read. So here are some ideas. We'll start off with J.A. What do you got this week?
I am recommending Jeff the Land Shark, everyone's favorite Marvel superhero. Specifically, the first 5 issues of the 2025 run, Jeff the Land Shark, by Kelly Thompson and Tokito Karo as the illustrator. Now, this is coming out in trade in May. You can find the single issues out now, of course. And this is just sort of based off of his big run on Marvel Rivals. He teams up with a lot of his friends to outsmart more rivals along the way, including the evil of Shadow Jeff. And And he goes to Madripoor and hangs out with Wolverine and Cyclops, and it's all a shark-biting good time. So
wait a minute. We got to rewind. Yeah, I heard it. The 2 Ks.
I didn't, I don't know. Did I say Cyclops? Psylocke. Yes. Sorry. The Andrewisms come in.
That's right. Hey, I'm a trend setter, not a trend follower. Setter. That's right.
Like an Irish setter.
It's true.
And this is by Kelly Thompson and Toki Takaro. Everyone's favorite giant anthropomorphic shark. Not to be confused with DC's shark person. What's the DC shark one?
King Shark.
That's totally different anthropomorphic shark in a comic book.
Although he is pretty good in the Suicide Squad movie by James Gunn. I enjoy him.
King Shark has legs. Jeff the Shark, I don't think, has legs.
He's also much cuter. He's adorable. Oh, Jeff is adorable. Any case, one thing that's not adorable is my recommendation this week, because the art's real good, though, at times. There's a lot of people that worked on this art. This is a book that I was going to recommend in a future show, but I was hard-pressed for a recommendation this week, so it's just going to be moved up a little bit. I haven't actually finished it, but based on our DC Ember, I thought to myself, I owe it to myself to read more of the big DC events that happened, especially after Crisis. I mean, I have a comic book podcast. I've been on here for 6 years. There are some events that I should probably get around to reading. And I've had this book on my shelf for a really long time, and I finally decided over the Christmas break to start it. And even a month in, I have yet to finish it. It is The Invasion in the mid-'80s, right after, on the heels of Crisis of Infinite Earths, when they were really trying to restart that DC universe. And they were like, boy, what's really great? Huge events. Let's keep doing some of those. You had this interesting event that was really the brainchild of the late Keith Giffen. He worked with Bill Mantlo, J.M.D. Mateus, George Perez, Roger Stern, Paul Kupperberg, Alan Grant, John Wagner, and a lot of really great artists, including Todd McFarlane, which drew a lot. I think he drew Invasions 1, 2, and 3, the actual main issues of this book. Also, Keith Giffen worked on art, Bart Sears, Kevin Maguire, Kerry Gamble, Graham Nolan, Irv Novick, and just a host of other inkers, including P. Craig Russell, Al Gordon, Joe Rubenstein, Tom Christopher, Dick Giordano, Pablo Marcos, Will Bilesberg, Brett Breeding, just a whole ton of folks. The version that I have was put out by Eagle Moss, which was like a collectibles company. I don't know if they still put out these books, but I was able to get a bunch of them at a real cheap price, and they're nice. This particular one gives you Invasions issues 1, 2, and 3, and then gives you what was happening in Superman at the time, Wonder Woman at the time, JLI at the time, Batman at the time. So some of the big heavy hitters of the DC universe. But it really is like the rest of the universe was like, who sucks? The Earth. You know why they suck? Because they always keep on creating superheroes. And this was actually the first storyline that introduced the metagene. Before this, they really didn't have the idea of a specific gene or something that would give people superpowers. But Invasion was like, that's why there's so many superheroes, because they've got this metagene thing. So we'll have these aliens with big, huge teeth drawn by Todd McFarlane, and they'll come up to town with a bunch of other yahoos, including Hawkman's race, and they'll just try to take us over. And turns out we have Superman and Wonder Woman, and yeah, even with 1,000 spaceships, they don't last very long. So it's a really neat book, but I haven't finished it yet. But I would highly recommend that if you can find Eagle Moss or some sort of collection with the Invasion, that you pick it up, because it was kind of a neat idea. And the Todd McFarlane art is actually really, really good. Like, it took me back, and I was like, oh, I really did like Todd in the late 80s. He was the best.
I was going to say, just to piggyback off your recommendations, 2 things. One, Todd McFarlane did not finish issue 3. That was much to my chagrin.
Oh, I haven't finished issue 3, so I haven't got there yet. That's
You're honest
sad.
about it, but I remember the disappointment. But the other thing about that issue is that was also the issue that inspired the Rob Liefeld parody issue of X-Men, X-Men 245.
I do remember that. I actually remember that more than the invasion storyline, to be honest. There's a neat story in here, though, where they try to invade the JLI's mansion with a bunch of miniature dudes, like Ant-Man-sized aliens, and Oberon fights them with a bowling ball and stuff from Blue Beetle's room.
I remember he has that headband. Speaking of headbands, like Kung Fu Buggy. I remember that Kevin McGuire cover.
Yeah, that's a great story. So there's some gems. Oh, I'll be finishing this. But Chad, what do you got in terms of gems for our listeners?
So for my recommendation, I was thinking, cartoons I loved growing up and cartoon characters. And sure, you think your Daffy Ducks and your Bugs Bunnies. Now, what's the superhero equivalent of Bugs Bunny? Deadpool. And so I, too, was struggling for a recommendation this week. And I looked off to my side shelf here, and I have a Deadpool omnibus by Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn. The art is by a great deal of artists in here. The one story in particular from Deadpool 1 through 6 has art by Tony Moore. That's the one that I'm most familiar with out of this book, and it's Deadpool going up against all these dead presidents. So if you ever wanted to see Deadpool box a zombie Abraham Lincoln, or go toe-to-toe with zombie Richard Nixon, or George Washington, this is the book for you. It's full of that cartoon humor, that over-the-top, and then you get into the rest of this trade. It's also one of those things where there's all these different references. You have Deadpool in that classic Iron Man demon in a bottle cover, but instead of struggling with booze, he's got the crazy straw. It's just, Deadpool is the closest we get in modern times to a cartoon character. And so if you're into that sort of thing and you need a chaser, check out Deadpool by Posehn and Duggan. Especially that first trade. That's the one that I know is real good, but I've heard great things about the rest. And so I just need time to read it.
I really like what they've done with Deadpool. I mean, going from his creation in X-Force to now, I feel now almost that it feels forced when he goes back and interacts with the X-Men universe and the mutants. It's like, why is Deadpool here? He's grown beyond this. It's like he's going back to, it's like you can never go back to high school, right? You go to college, you come back, and that's what I feel like Deadpool, when he goes back to the X-Men, it's like going back to high school.
Just check the movie box office receipts. He's above a lot of the Marvel characters these days.
For sure. And one thing that we're hoping is above some of the other, at least podcasts out there, is the Last Comic Shop podcast, right? You're listening to it. We want you to continue to support it and make sure that it's one of those top 5 podcasts out there when it comes to talking about comic books. And you can do that by easily going out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, picking any of those podcasting services, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you want to listen, and rate, reviewing, and subscribing. It's as simple as that, so that you never miss any of our episodes. I can tell you that we are going to have some awesome shows coming up in February, but I'm not 1,000% sure of all the books we might read. I think we might be reading Love and Rockets, finally. I think, maybe. Ooh. I do know that I'm going to make these guys read some Fletcher Hanks. That's going to be an interesting show coming up. If you've never checked out Fletcher Hanks, you should just type that in to a search bar, and boy, howdy, get ready for that excitement. But we do have in March the Merry Marvel March Society coming back to the Last Comic Shop. So if you like Marvel books and you want to check out some of these awesome ones that we've got lined up, again, go out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com and rate, review, and subscribe.
And while we might be the Last Comic Shop podcast, we don't want to be the Last Comic Shop. So we encourage everybody to get out there and support those local shops. And you can do that by purchasing things like Uncanny Valley by Tony Fleecs and Dave Wachter. Or you could purchase things like Deadpool by Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn. Jay, I'm struggling. What was your recommendation again?
It's Jeff.
It's Jeff. There you go. Those trades are out there for you.
Everyone's favorite anthropomorphic shark that's not the DC shark, King Shark, but totally a different Marvel shark and cuter.
Totally different shark. Don't jump that. You'll miss out. Or you could purchase things like Invasion by everyone who worked at DC in the 80s.
That's pretty much it.
Andrew's actually still reading the names.
I know, right?
Just cut it off.
And it's hilarious because, like, you get to the Wonder Woman issue and it's like written by George Perez with lots of stuff from Keith. Because Keith was trying to pull all the stuff together. He was like, "Oh, what's going on in Legion of Superhero? Oh, we should bring that in. Oh, what's going on in JLI? Oh, we should bring that in. Oh, we should bring this in."
I honestly, this is apropos. I don't think Keith Giffen gets enough credit for how good of a comic book person he was. He could do everything. He could plot, he could write, he could draw, he could do breakdowns, layouts, and like he just had such a great mind for comic books, and he produced so many good ones. Whether it's the old JLI stuff or the OMAC things from the New 52, like you could always count on a Keith Giffen book to be good stuff. Keith Giffen does not get enough credit, but you know how we get credit sometimes is when people go to our website, www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, and check out links to our socials, links to previous episodes, and most importantly, links to the merch store. Jay, what's in store this week?
T-shirts, coffee mugs, tote bags, always on. And this week when you buy, you get a free box from Acme.
Oh, that's right.
Now, the question is, when you open it, is it going to be some pop-up flowers or is it going to be some dynamite?
You know what's dynamite, and you never plug, is the fact that you can buy shorts. You can now get shorts over at our merch store, Last Comic Shop Shorts. That's right. Just to go
long
with like
story shorts,
like cartoons were shorts. Like now you can get your cartoon shorts with the Last Comic Shop logo. I don't know. I was just trying to join. There's also a promo code, right? If you want to get your comic book supplies at a discount price, where can folks go to get that jazz?
bcwsupplies.com. If you use the promo code LCSPOD at checkout, you save 10%. It kicks a little bit money to us to help put this show together as a thank you. And you can save on boards, bags, boxes, and other things. Maybe you've got a giant baseball card collection that you need protecting. Or, I don't know, you went out one day and bought a football helmet that needs to be put in a giant plexi box. Who knows?
Hey, it's very popular. Super Bowl's coming up. People buy that Super Bowl merch. Make sure that you're protecting it. BCW Supplies and that promo code LCSPOD. It's the way to go.
Yeah, if you've got a Bad Bunny LP, they do sell protection for your record collection.
Ooh.
Bugs Bunny?
Hey, you have that Tick album now, Chad. You can put that
I know.
That's both comic books and cartoons and music. All those things protected at BCW Supplies.
I used to have a Daffy Duck 45.
Ooh, that's fun.
Disco Duck.
Oh, no, that's Donald. Not
That's
Daffy.
Donald, yeah.
That's Rick Dees, actually. That's Rick Dees.
And the weekly top 40?
It was his Sky gig when he wasn't on the weekly top 40.
It was Donald, but I like Daffy better than Donald. I was always a Looney Tunes guy.
They had that edge.
They had something to prove.
You don't see Plymouth coming out with a Mickey Mouse car. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, now that he's in the public domain, maybe. We'll see.
Well, one thing that's always in the public domain is us, the Last Comic Shop Podcast. We hope you come back next week. Until then, I was the host of Most Andy Larson. I was joined by Chad Smith, Jay Scott, and we hope that you stay safe. Stay tuned! That's all.
No, we can't say that.
We don't want to get sued.
Legal disclaimer. While Andrew might have said that we are in the public domain, no part of this show is in the public domain. This is copyright 2026 by Black Angus Productions and
Exclamation point.
was a 2026 Black Angus production.